Yeah, so anyway, this musical alphabet is the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, and G over and over again. Every single instrument that we use in our Western music has this. If I, not just the piano, the white keys of a piano, but if I go to like a saxophone, or if I go to like a mandolin or a bass or something, and I can, again, A, B, C, D, F, G over and over again, all throughout the strings on the instrument. And then we have the second thing you'll see is where I've written sharp, which is a little hashtag sign, a little number sign, um, and a flat, which is it's a lowercase b. And you guys have probably seen that before too. And those fit really nicely in between. So if you think of a piano, and I don't have, there's a piano over here, but if you think, if you guys have all seen a piano before, if you think of a piano, all of the black keys are the sharp or hashtag sign or lowercase flat for every note. Yes, sir? You have a question? No, you're just. Um, yeah, so just to give you a little bit of a visual, if this is a key on the piano, it's actually a whole bunch of keys on the piano. Um, in between, do a little arrow here, in between, you're going to have a note that sounds a little bit higher than A, but it sounds a little bit lower than B. And I hope you guys can see that. So if I'm on the guitar, I've got A's all over the place. So I'm like, you know, I mean, I've got A's like, you know, all over the place. But if I play A, before I get to B, there is a fret before I hit that B note, and that's my B flat or A sharp. And so all I want you guys to get from this is that we have letters that we use to name chords in music, and that we have sounds. This is the first part of music, pitch. And so if I play this note, that's a low A. Here's an A chord. Here's another chord. Here's an A. Here's a B. You can hear it's a little bit higher in pitch. Here's a C. Here's a D. We're going higher, just like on the piano, right? And if I go back to A, up to B, and then play the note in between, that note is a little bit higher than A and a little bit lower than B. So you have these black keys on the piano, which we have on the guitar as well. So when I look at a guitar, I see like 6 pianos, because every one of our strings is like a short piano. And we move up alphabetically, and we'll talk about that in today's session with our fingerboard knowledge, which will help us with capoing and things like that. So I hope that makes sense. So the very first thing you see is the musical alphabet, then sharp, and then flat. Music is made up of half steps and whole steps. Every fret on your guitar, and we'll tune here right away, every fret on your guitar is equal to half a step, which means these are frets. Fret wires are these steel frets here, and then the spaces in between are where you place your fingers, of course. We'll talk about the parts of the guitar here right away too. But if you go from one fret to another fret, you are moving up half a step, and one fret, skipping a fret, two, it's a whole step. Does that make sense? So if I give everyone's pointer finger for a second, and let's just like take our pointer finger and touch this high string, which is our E string. We'll talk about that later too. And we'll just lightly touch. You don't have to push down hard or anything. So this is a note. This is an F note. Now if I take my middle finger and I go to the next fret, that's moving up half a step. And if I go up 2 frets, that's a whole step. So that makes sense. For now, we're good. So that's important to be aware of. There's a couple notes on that basic music theory and terms sheet. To find the sharp of a particular note, simply move up the fretboard a half step. To find the flat, simply move down the fretboard a half step. And then there's a bold that says there are no sharps, which is the number sign, or flats between B and C and E and F, as they are a half step apart. So all I'm going to show you guys with this today is if this note here is a G note, and for those that play a little bit of chords, that's a G chord. We'll play with that later. So I'm working up, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We'll look at our fretboard here soon. If I take this G note right here, I know this is maybe kind of hard to play for those that haven't played this note, but if I take this G note and I move it down half a step, it's now a G flat. If I move it up half a step, it's now a G sharp. So if I move up one increment at a time, I can keep going. Okay, here's my A, here's my A sharp. Here's my D, here's my D sharp. And yeah, you can fill in those blanks by moving whatever pitch you have up or down a half step. This actually makes a lot of sense when we look at our guitar fingerboard chart, which is this guy right here. And we're gonna look at this, and this is the last thing we'll look at before we tune our guitars. So this is hopefully easy to visualize. You can see at the top where you would tighten your strings. So you see your tuning keys at the top. It looks like this. Does that make sense? Totally disregard this side of the page, the right-hand side. Just look at this here. We're not doing music notation today. But if you look at, and I think I can probably clip this here. That would be awesome. No. I'll hold it here. So if you look at the open strings, we have E, A, D, G, B, and E. So if I take my guitar and I play this first, which is actually the sixth string, the low string, this is E, A, D, G, B, and E. And when we tune our guitars, we are going to tune to an E, a low E, to an A, to a D, a G, and a B just under middle C, and an E. So it's kind of cool. If I had a piano right here, I'd be like E, A, D, G, B, and E, and I could actually play those notes on the piano too, which is really cool. So that's our open strings that we're dealing with, and we'll tune here right away. But just taking a look at A, you see the second one, the A. Can everyone find the A? I'll point to it right here. The A, we're on the open strings, right behind that nut. And you can see that once the A moves up to the next fret, it now becomes an A sharp or a B flat. I see some heads nodding, that's good. And then it moves up to a B, and then it moves up to a C. Thank you, Gord. Appreciate that. Yes, absolutely too. We'll cool. All right, so we're going to very quickly hit pause on this and make sure that we're in tune. And what we're going to do is we're going to tune to the E, the A, the D, the G, the B, and the E that I was just mentioning to you. Now I've got a tuner, so I'll come over and help. Is it Camilla? Or Canilla? With a G. With a G? Oh, sorry. Is it G? Oh, cool. Good enough. That's cool. So I'll quickly tune this for you and right. Sure. Oh yeah, no. Appreciate that. It's good that we're helping each other. Oh, the apps are. Yeah, that worked out really well. A. Yeah, that's close. That's very close. So all I'm doing is I'm tightening or loosening the string tension, and that will raise or lower the pitch or the sound. And I wonder, hey Gord, do you have Mr. Ponak? This should be good. Mr. Ponak, you're welcome. We'll probably need some Allen keys after too. I'll straighten her neck to make the strings a little bit lower. It'll be easier to play too. It's really, yeah, and it's because yeah, there's a bow right here, and so there's a rod, and you can actually adjust it. Yeah, yeah. So totally good.
I'm trying to find which is open tuning.
Oh, crazy.
Like it's got all these different keys you can tune it to.
Yeah. It would be C, or C would be chromatic a lot of the time, right? U would be universal, maybe. But like, if they have a general C, that would imply
the V was
U, hey, and then A4. Let's go 440. That's weird.
Oh yeah, 440. I was thinking 442, right? 440 is the one.
You know what? Let's see if this works, and if not, I've got a clip too. Awesome. And can I help you? Are you all? Did you get tuned up from there? Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I got to be a little careful if they're way out. I don't want them to. Yeah. Tell you what, I'll tune these first four. I'm going to leave these two. These are still really loose. So after class, I'll see if I can get these up to pitch without breaking them. So I'll just you'll still be able to put your hand on the guitar and feel and we'll talk with what we're talking about. So and then if we have to, then I'll tune these two in class. But I don't think we'll need these. So yeah. So cool. Awesome. So I think we're good. So can we do something together? If we're all tuned, and this might be hard for some of us, and it might not be for others, can we walk up a string and just kind of like talk through what the notes are? So what I'd like to do is maybe start with our low E string right here, and I'm just going to get us to like walk up together, you know, like so, and we'll talk about what notes we're playing as we walk up that string. Now, before I do that, actually no, we'll just do it. We'll just do it. So, can everyone play an E for a second? A low E. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the lowest string, the sixth string. Love it. Love it. Is it working for you, or is it?
Yeah, it's kind of working, but
There you go. It's being finicky, hey?
yeah, I didn't get the last string, but too high down.
Yeah, a little lower. Yeah, a little lower. Yeah. A little higher? Yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. It's flying, hey?
Yeah,
It's this. You know what? Just for kicks, let me just try this one really quickly. And
Okay, is everyone doing good? Anyone need help with tuning?
just making sure.
You're good, and Ganil, you're good. Elaine,
Be
you're
cool if I just get my hands on it for a second here. So if you're E, maybe play your E, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Your A. Your D. Okay, your G. Yeah, you were right in the ballpark for all of them. Your B. Yeah, and then your E. And then we'll do just your low E one more time. Cool, I think that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. That'll be good. Cool, man. All right, so let's do this together. Let's play our low E string with or without a pick. Love it. And then let's go to our next pitch on that string. So we're just going to walk onto the first fret. And who can tell me what note that is looking at our guitar fingerboard chart? It's an F. Yes, absolutely. Which makes sense because F comes after E in the alphabet, right? So it's the next pitch after E. And actually, I should mention just moving from your open string, your strings without having to press down to get a pitch, it's like having a fret right here. And so going from this string to this string is actually a half step. We were talking about half steps and whole steps. Moving up one fret, moving up two frets. So we got E, we got F. Let's go to the next pitch, second fret. What note's that? I forgot yellow hoodie. F sharp, absolutely, because the note after F is just a little bit higher, but we're not quite at G yet. So now we go to the next note, the third fret. And what would that note? That would be G. That's where our G chord starts. And what about after G? We have G sharp, thank you. A or A flat, yes. And this is actually a perfect time to talk about on the basic guitar music theory in terms, the second last definition is something crazy called enharmonic equivalent. Wow, that's insane. But all that is it's a note that or a pitch that has the same sound as another note or a pitch, or i.e. two different names for the same note. So if I take my E, then F, and then F sharp, and then I went up to G, third fret was G, then G sharp, Tyler's like, well, that's a G sharp because it's higher than G, but it's also an A flat because it's lower than A. So I'm like, hey guys, here's an A flat, here's a G sharp, same note, same pitch. And so after we go through our musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, now we're back at A. So tell me if this makes sense to everyone. I hope this does. I'm working up the alphabet. I'm starting on E, and I'm going E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and now I'm back to A. Now I'm back to A. Now, I'm just going to go from A, which is my fifth fret, and A can go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but there's some black keys in there too, just like the piano. So after A, we have a pitch that's not quite B, a little bit higher than A, and now we're at A sharp. Or we could call it a B flat because it's a little bit lower than B. And then we get to B. So our seventh fret is B, E, F, G, A, B. And so we're just working up through this very simple alphabet, A to G, over and over again with little sharps and flats in between. The only thing we'll talk about here before we get to some more fingerboard knowledge is you'll notice that on your guitar finger chart, once again, you can just not look at this side. We'll just pay attention to this side. You'll notice that like wherever you start, if I randomly take my finger and go, let's start at that B on the A string. Let's start on that B right here, and it's like, oh, we're just going up, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G over and over again. What if we started on, what if I started right here on the 5th fret at C? Same thing, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Everything's moving up alphabetically on each of these strings. It's almost like having 6 different little mini pianos, like I mentioned. The question, I don't know if this is burning in anyone's minds, but if you look at the E string that we were just playing, we went E and then we played F, and we played F sharp, and we played G, and then Tyler told us it was G sharp or A flat, and then A sharp, and then B. You see how B goes right to C? Do you guys see that? If you're looking at fret 7 on the low E string, can everyone see the letter? Like actually any B, if you look at that fingerboard diagram and you look at any letter B, you notice that the very next fret it moves up to a C. Do you guys see that? So someone might ask, well, why is that not a B sharp? Why is that not a C flat or a B sharp? Why is it going directly from B to C? And that happens actually one more spot on the guitar. If you find just any E, if you look on your fingerboard and you find any E pitch, you'll notice that it goes directly to F. There's actually no E sharp on there as well. And so there is an exception to the rule, and that's that between a couple pitches, there's no black keys. And it's the same thing on a piano. If you look at a piano, it's not just all white keys and all black keys. There's little spots on a piano that, hey, wait a minute, this white key goes directly to that white key, and there's no black key in between. And that just has to do with the way Western music was written. It's very boring to talk about. It's actually kind of exciting to talk about, but it's just how we write in music, and we have this musical alphabet, and we have these higher pitches we call sharps and these lower pitches that we call flats. And between B and C and E and F, there are no sharps or flats. So this is why on your guitar, when we're playing an A note, so here's my A again, playing an A, and then I go to the very next pitch on that string, that's an A sharp. Where if I go to the lowest note on the guitar and I play E, and I go to the very next pitch, it's an F rather than an E sharp. You guys can see that on your fingerboard diagram too. So just something to be aware of, and that is all on your trusty basic guitar music theory and terms, which has those several things. So things to remember: the musical alphabet, sharp meaning high, flat meaning low. Every fret on your guitar being equal to 1/2 step. Every 2 frets is a whole step. That you move down your fingerboard with this musical alphabet with sharps and flats or black keys, thinking like a piano player, in between. And and there's no black keys between B and C and E and F. So hopefully that was kind of clear. Even if it was 50% clear, you will have it by next week. It's really not a hard concept. This is going to be really helpful. Now, I actually have to help you guys with this fingerboard knowledge. I have an exercise that I'm going to get you to do. It's about it can take someone as simple as 4 or 5 minutes, or it could take up to 10 minutes. So we're not going to do it for more than 10 minutes, but I'll talk about this right away here. It's so important to know the notes on our fingerboard. Like, it's There's so many reasons for this, but you know, it's like I remember picking up the guitar when I was a beginner, and it was a whole bunch of frets over 6 strings. Like it was so scary. You know, when you watch guys and they're playing everywhere, and you're like, there's so many notes, and you first start playing guitar, and you're like, okay, I got that one. You know, I got that one. You start like working through. Okay, I got a chord. You know, but when you realize that all of these notes on your fingerboard are the same notes repeated in sequence in different pitches and different timbres or tones, it actually becomes really simple to learn your fingerboard. If you think of it like I was mentioning, where every string is like a mini piano, and you just go up that musical alphabet and you throw in your sharps and your flats, you can find any pitch or any note on any of your strings really easily. So this is important for as those of us that play acoustic guitar in a worship setting, because we need to know what notes are in our chords. We need to know if we're playing a D, and we want to make it a D sus4, which is something that we'll allude to later. That we need to add a G note, which I know this is a G, E, F, F sharp, G, you know. And all over the fingerboard. And we need to know that if we have a song that's in a really weird key, like a flat or a sharp key, and we know how to play a G chord really comfortably, you know, and an E minor chord really comfortably, and we see a song that's in like G sharp, which you don't normally see in church. You might see A flat or something, but not usually G sharp. We would, with our capo, which we're not talking about today, but we would put, you know, you've seen those clamps that go on your, I think you had a purple one, right? Yes, yeah. So I've got one in my case here. No, I don't. I have one in, is it by my phone? No, that is, I did, oh, it's over here. There we go. It's a camouflage. It's the same color as the carpet. Anyway, so if I know the notes on my fingerboard, and I know that this is a G chord, and this is not something we're talking about today, because this is, I know, kind of hard to understand, and I move it up the fingerboard, and I have this nice, different sounding chord. This is still the same shape that I was playing down here. You guys can all hear that sounds different, though, hey? That sounds different. These are different notes. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually playing different chords with this capo based on the fact that the notes change as you move down each fret. So I know this is a G, just as a teaser, real teaser. E, we just did this, E to F sharp to G. I know this is a G chord. This is our starting point for those that know the G chord. Well, what happens if I go like, gosh, what if I put it here and I go E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A to here? Well, that's A sharp or B flat. Crazy. So I'm playing a B flat chord. Okay. What if I went to here and played a G chord here? Wow. Okay. E, open string, invisible fret, E, F, F sharp, G. That was my original G chord. G sharp, A sharp, B to C. And all of a sudden I'm playing a C chord with a G shape. So it's so important to know our fingerboards, because we all of a sudden get control over what we play on our fingerboard. And it's a lot of fun. And then you can just rock with the capo and, yeah, make things a little bit easier. So this exercise that I want to do is there's a sheet that has some green highlighted portions on it. And I didn't highlight the green ones on mine because I wasn't going to do it. But it's right. It looks like this. It says note names. It says symbols and terms. Has some, yeah. So what I would like you guys to do, and I'll do a couple of these in class. I have here if you want one, man. I've got right here. Oh, there you go. So actually. So we're going to take 5 to 10 minutes to do this here. You don't have to do this one over here, guys. This is not something failed by a pen. Gord promised me good pens. Oh. Just pens. Okay, so we don't have to do this one. We're not doing that. I think I crossed that out. We don't have to do this little middle one. And we won't, like if it takes too long for some of us, we're not going to take more than 10 minutes here. But we are going to do this note names one. And we are going to look at these 2 exercises. And this is just what we're talking about. It's just recognizing the pitches on our guitar. Now the cool thing is this is an open book test because you guys all have. I shouldn't say it's a test. It's more of an exercise, and it's not really test if it's guitar, is it? So you can use this guitar fingerboard chart as a reference to help. You can use your own fingerboard and your guitar to play the pitches as a reference to help, and then Gord or myself can also help you guys with this exercise. I'll do the first one of all 3 for you. Is that cool? So. The first one is an easy matching game. So we're back in a very young grade here. So I look at this note and it says 2, and you guys are probably wondering, wow, what is this number? And I should probably mention this really quickly. Who can read tab? Is that a new way of reading music for anyone? It's really easy. That's totally cool. Okay, so quick sidetrack. We're still going to do this. This won't take long. Check this out. Here's a line. That's this string. Here's a line. That's this string. Here's a line. They're not straight, I apologize. There's this string. Here's a line. That's this string. Here's a line. And then one more. So we've got 2. In fact, maybe I'll do it like this so it looks. So you got 1, 2, 3. Well, that's way too many lines. That's not a guitar. Sorry. There you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. Okay, and these are just the strings of the guitar. It's pretty easy to understand. It's kind of like the guitar's on your lap and you're looking at it, and the string that's on the top is the high string, which makes sense because if something is high, it's on top, right? Where on the bottom is the low string. Something is on the bottom, it's low. So I'm just going to be real simple here and write the words low and then write word high up here. Does that make sense for everyone? So let's all play this string. Love it. Let's play this string. This string. We're laughing. So this is super simple. So this is a form of reading guitar that is real beneficial for starting out. And it's called tab, short for tabulature. And this is half of the equation. So that's only a two equation way of reading music. So you have the 6 lines that are your strings, and then you have the numbers, which are the frets that you are playing. So what happens if I draw, check this out, a number 2 right here? That is a terrible 2. Can you guys see that? If I draw a number 2 right there, what that is not this string, but this string, fret 2. So it's a finger placement way of reading music. Show you another example. What happens if I do not this string? What happens if I do, let's go like the number 5 right there? What the heck is that? Well, it's not this string, the high one on top. It's not this string. It's not this one. It's this one. But it's not that note. It's the note on the 5th fret. So I'm walking up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm playing that pitch. That's pretty straightforward. It's kind of cool. I'll show you a couple more things with tab, and then we should be able to do this exercise with Gord and I kind of shadowing everyone. What happens if I see a 0? What do you think a 0 means? Anyone? It's an open string. Absolutely, yeah. So this one, second from the bottom, right here, second from the bottom, that's an A string. That's an A string. And lastly, what happens if I see a couple numbers stacked? I'm not drawing a snowman. What do you think, Tyler, what do you think that means? Absolutely. So you play them together. So when numbers are stacked, you play it together. So a couple of you know some chords, right? Who knows like an E minor chord? Got one. Tyler's got. We got two. This one. Who's played this chord before? Maybe. I could do C. Who knows the C? Most of us know C. Okay, so I'll show you this really quickly. So if I was going to write a C chord in guitar tab, what I would do is I would go 3, 2, 0, 1, 0. And I hope you can read that. So it doesn't tell us what fingers we're using, but it tells us what frets we're on. So I go, okay, well, not on this string, but on this string is where we're going to start. And we're going to use our third finger. We'll play on the 3rd fret. And then on the next string, it's the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret. And then we have an open string. We're going to have to arch our fingers and use our fingertips. And then we have a note on the 1st fret pointer finger, and then we have a high E. So, anyway, so you can play chords that you know in tabulature because they're just telling you what frets to play. Pretty simple. I hope that makes sense. So going back to, actually, I'm just remembering now that Gord did hand out the technique and parts of the guitar, so I would like to go back to that after this exercise. Let's go back to this exercise here. So this is how easy it is. I hope this is easy. And I'll do the first of each of these for you guys. Like I said, it could take someone as short as 4 or 5 minutes. It could also take up to 10 minutes, and then Gordon and I will help. So at the very top it says, draw a line to match each note on the left with its correct name on the right. So if I look at the very first tab note, which is right up here, I see the number 2 on the 5th string, which is the 2nd from the bottom, which is this A string. Can someone play that note for me? Other than Gord? Yeah? Or, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, okay, so does anyone have a guess what note that would be? That would be a B. I'm just going to connect the line just like that. Does that make sense? Pretty straightforward. Now let's jump down to this section here. And they actually wrote down the first one, so I'll do the second one. If I'm looking at this, write the note names in the spaces provided. This 0, this open string, is also 2nd from the bottom. It's the A string. which means it is an A note. Now jumping to the very bottom, below the tab staff are the note names. Write the notes in the tab. And this is kind of fun. You guys get to write your own tab. So the first thing they say is G, and so you can just play your G string, E, A, D, G. Excuse me. So I would draw an open or a 0 right there. And then here they say A open, do a 0 right there, that's fine. C, and really you can, I mean, unless otherwise specified, if they say fifth string or something, you can do that. But or you can just write like you know, anywhere that you can find that letter on your fingerboard diagram. So I will come around to help with this. It shouldn't take too long. Start off with the draw a line to match each note with the correct tab. And this is just an exercise to get your minds kind of thinking about what notes are on your fingerboard. Cool. So yeah, go ahead and I will be around. Hey man. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to be. Yeah. Well, you know what's cool? It's hard. It's hard when your very first guitar experience. So I'll just, if all you do is this one here, that's okay. You just have to do this one on here. So if I look at these lines, that's each one of these strings. Hey. Yeah. Like check this out. Check this out. Check this out. These are the same lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 would be the second fret. 1, 2, which is a B. Which is that B. And then 1, there's 1. That would be F. And then this one is 3. 1, 2, 3. That's a C. There's a C up there. And so this right here is just the different notes on your fingerboard. And it just moves up alphabetically, right? So you're just going A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it keeps going A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then you have these little like number hashtag signs, sharps, and the lowercase b's, flats in between. And it is definitely overwhelming, but it's really cool.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can also look up there.
Absolutely.
Because those are the answers, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so you can just use this to help you. Yeah. So it's something really cool about music that we use the musical alphabet. You know, it's cool that we don't refer to music as something weird like colors or something. It's like we use the alphabet. You know, I play a chord, I'm like, this is an E chord. You know, this is an A chord. This is a D chord. That's, yeah, super cool. So,
Letters or numbers.
absolutely. Well, you can, yeah. We do use numbers as well, too. Absolutely. I really like using numbers for music, but so it's good. Yeah, pretty easy. Sweet. cool. First guitar class, hey?
So that would be F.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And the cool thing is if you want, you have time because we'll keep this for about 10 minutes. You could like play them if you wanted to as
Yeah.
well, just to kind of, oh, that's,
Yeah.
that's an F. Okay. Yes, sir.
It's these two that you want them out?
Yes, yeah. Unless
Okay.
Tyler wants to do the whole thing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you don't need to do this one at all. It's just for note recognition. But that looks right.
Would bar lines be like this? Like the lines go like that?
Yeah, yeah, they're just like, so if it's 4/4 time, like you don't have to do this at all, but if it's 4/4 time, like the way tab is written with music, like these are quarter notes, that's a half note, those are eighth notes, so it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, bar line, 1, 2, 3 and 4, bar line, 1, 2 and 3, 4, bar line, 1, 2, 3 and 4, bar line, 1 and 2, 3, 4, little rest, so, yeah. Yeah, dude, sorry, don't listen to me, yeah.
You guys know some rhythmic notation.
That's why I was, yeah.
Okay, everyone's doing good?
Seems that, yeah, absolutely. So I'll give him 5 minutes more here, and then yes, yes we do. Yeah, I guess we started late too. So
What is this zero? There's a zero on the other paper.
on the other paper,
The one we're doing,
yeah, yeah.
the zero.
Oh yeah, the 0 just means open, which means an open string. So if I see this 0 right here, I go, okay, well, it's not this string. It's not this string. It's not this string. It's not this one. It's this one. This string right here, is that open note? Because I'm not pressing any frets. When you press a fret, you're pressing on your fingerboard, and you're pressing where these metal lines are. We'll talk a little bit about frets too here right away. Is that cool? Does that make sense? A little bit? I know it's a lot to take in, but you can just kind of like experience the guitar world a little bit. Open strings, zeros. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Pretty cool, eh? How's everyone doing? We're pretty good? Good enough? How you feeling with it all?
Good.
It's good, yeah?
Yeah, I haven't done the rest of it, but
It does make sense, eh?
yeah, it's starting to make sense. At first it was kind of making sense, but now
Now it's really, so like
this exercise, okay.
this would be an A, because it's on the A, like this is an open A string,
Open second string.
which is your, so remember the highest one, like the top is here, is right here, yeah. I know it's tricky because when you look at my guitar, you got to kind of think of it like you're looking on your lap or something, yeah. So yeah, so this, like, this right here is actually this A,
Oh, okay,
yeah. So, same way that you did your B was like, yeah. Would be A, yeah, and then this is second, and then on 1, yeah, and then 1, 2, 3, it's just 3 down, 1, 2, 3 on the second fret. Close, sorry, you were right, yeah, so where's 1, yeah, 1, 2, 3. Second fret would be B and E, so. And then an A, yeah. Cool. So I'm going to do one little walk around here, and then just because we have just about 20 minutes left, I will continue talking about some other things. Tyler, you doing okay? Sweet, man. Yeah, it looks good, dude. It's really good. Awesome. Ah, absolutely. Yeah. E, F. Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. No, that's fine. So you got G, A, E, F, F, B, E, C, D. Yeah, A sharp, B flat. That's how I would have written it. Yeah. F sharp, G flat. Yeah. F sharp, G flat. That's a different pitch. It's the same note. They're both F sharp, G flats. This one, I think you were looking on the D. This one's actually a D, but I think all you did was you looked at here instead of here, which is a common thing for us to, yeah. But everything else looks great. D sharp, E flat, yeah. Yeah, it looks good. Cool. All right.
Do I write the number or do I write
Absolutely. The number. Yeah. Yeah, you're writing your own tab. Yeah. So you'll write like this one here. You'll write like the number 3 down there.
Or I could do any of the G's.
You could do any of the G's if you wanted to, unless it says specifically which one that you have to do.
Oh, okay. So for G, I can do any G that's on here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I could do
You could go all the way down the fingerboard.
G from 12th fret.
Yep.
Down with your two choices, you put both or?
Yeah, you can just put them both in. Absolutely. Yeah. So like something like, yeah, so this looks good. This looks good. Absolutely. So this would be an A sharp or a B flat. Yeah. Absolutely. Depends on like we'll never call it both if we're gigging or playing in worship with it. Like we'll call it either one or the other. But for some songs you'll call it an A sharp and some you'll call it a B flat. So awesome. Well, we'll wrap up this exercise. We still have just under 20 minutes before we wrap up, so I wanted to go on to something else here. You guys can finish that at home. I did kind of walk around and make sure everyone was understanding what they were doing, and it looks great. Like, does the show of hands? Do you guys feel pretty good with? Yeah. Tyler, you've almost finished it too. Hey, so good. So it's super important to know, what the notes are on your fingerboard, and you'll find that as you grow in your guitar journey and your strumming and finger picking and capoing and playing songs, and you'll be like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. Like, I'm putting a capo up here and I'm playing this D chord, and now I know it's actually not a D chord, but I know it's an A flat chord, which is so cool because if I see an A flat in a worship music score, I'm like, I don't know how to play that chord. Well, I can just play my D and move it up to an A flat and kind of make it easier that way. So it's really cool. And it just makes everything less scary, less threatening on your fingerboard when you know exactly where the notes are. Two other things to mention with your fingerboard, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the guitar and about technique. And then we might actually run out of time before I get to the strumming portion of the class, which is okay because I know we're missing half of our class anyway, so it might be best to have everyone here before we start doing group strumming, So, two more notes on your fingerboard. You guys probably figured this out, but as soon as you get to your 12th fret, which most of you is 2 dots right here, you have your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. You all have a dot on your 5th fret. 6, 7, 8, 9. You have a dot on your 9th fret. 10, 11, 12, and you have 2 dots on that 12th fret. that's actually where everything starts over again, which is so cool. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so in the same way that these 6 strings are E, A, D, G, B, and E, E, A, D, G, B, and E. And so you start over, here's a D chord, here's a D chord. So it's kind of cool. Everything just starts over after that 12th fret. Yeah, and then the last thing is you have what we call different pitches or different timbres. And I want to show you what this thing is. This is an ear thing, so I'll get you guys to have a listen to this. The first is pitch is really, really quite simple. If I play the first E on my guitar, it's this E. Now that E has an octave. So there's 2 E's. Now this E can go lower. E, E, B. So you have different pitches, variations of this same note. It's just different octaves. Well, that's something you'll learn about in music. The other thing is you have different timbres, and timbre is spelt T-I-M-B-R-E. I'm pretty sure that's how it's spelled. It's timbre, but yeah, we say music is all Latin and weird. But so timbre has to do with the way something sounds. So check this out. If I play a middle C on the piano, it's really simple. I just go to a piano and I see all my white keys and all my black keys, and I go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G over and over and over again. 80, and then I have my black sharps and flat keys, and I hit a middle C, which is the middle of the piano. It's a C note. And on the guitar, that note is this note right here, this middle C. Now, we have 5 middle Cs on our guitars, and they all are the same pitch. Check this out, but they have different sounds or timbre or tone. So here's my middle C, version 1. I'm going to play through all 5. Now this might not reach. Check this out. It's the same pitch. It's the same note, but this one it's very bright, and you've turned up the treble, and you've, it's very clear. It's very, your bass is turned down on your car stereo, And here, this C, it's a lot warmer. It's a lot thicker sounding. Isn't that cool? So we have 5 different middle Cs, which is the same pitch that a piano only has 1, but we have different timbres or different tones of that. So just a couple of things to be aware of. On the guitar, there's also a couple really cool tricks that you can learn. You can YouTube, you can ask your teacher or your guitar friend. You can buy books on. There's things like the octave pattern, which are just rectangles that you put on your guitar, not physically on your guitar, but you look at it and you go, okay, well, this note to this note is the same, but it's they're both G's. They're both G's, and you can reach, with these little rectangles. These are both D's. These are both D's, and everything starts to be really interconnected on the guitar. Because when they created stringed instruments, they were creating them with a purpose and with some logic, and it's very, very quite cool when you realize that all of the notes on your fingerboard that I'm helping you guys to start to see are really connected logically. They really make a lot of sense, even to the point where you're like not just going A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You can also go vertically down A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and everything fits really nicely on the guitar. And that has to do with the way that they're built and they're tuned. So the biggest thing to get out of this, and then we'll talk a little bit about technique and the parts of the guitar, but the biggest thing to get from this is just taking away the scariness that is all of these frets and strings. So, fretboard knowledge, super important. Really quickly, there's a couple sheets that Gord handed out, and the first one looks like this. Yeah, and it's helpful. There's a little blip on there about tuning and how the thickest string is your E and how the thinnest string is another E. For those that would like a good little poem to remember your string names, if you don't, you could think of going from your sixth string, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, going from that string down, you could think Eddie, 8, Dynamite, Goodbye, Eddie. That's one that people think about a lot. Or you could, I like that one, Eddie 8, Dynamite, Goodbye, Eddie. Or if you go from your first string, there's Easter's coming up, so you could think of Easter Bunny goes dancing at Easter. And that's the other one, the two. So anyway, so looking really quickly at the parts of your guitar, there's not a lot to talk about. I'm going to talk about a couple of these things. These are your tuning keys or your tuners. You guys use these to tune your guitars. As you tighten the string, the pitch gets higher. As you loosen the string, the string loosens and the pitch gets lower. The strings come out of your tuning keys over your nut, and your nut is not something you can crack and eat, of course. It's something that holds your string, and the string kind of rides up into the nut and starts to go over your fingerboard. On your fingerboard, you have these fret wires. Sometimes we just we call them frets, even though like you're placing your finger on a fret, which is the space in between the fret wires. It's just, yeah, this is the first fret, and yet this is the first fret wire. It establishes where that first fret area is. So your strings go over top your sound hole. We know what a sound hole is. We know what a pick guard is, and the pick guard guards your guitar from when you're strumming and you don't want to get stuff like that all over the place, and so this pick guard protects that. And then finally, your strings ride over top of your saddle, much like you would sit on a horse. And the saddle is this long, usually a white, thin angled bone or plastic. And that saddle sits inside of a larger piece of wood, usually a rosewood. This is called your bridge. And you can think like it's very much like a bridge with all the strings and the tension and everything. But this bridge is holding these strings in play with these little bridge pins that are holding the strings in, and the strings ride over top of this saddle. So I hope you guys can see that. There's not a whole lot with an acoustic guitar. You have your tuning keys, like I mentioned, your nut, your bridge, your saddle. You have your sound hole, and that's really all we need. You know, there's some other bells and whistles if you get an electric one. But we won't worry too much about that. And then the second page that Gord handed out here is on technique, and they've separated it into two areas. They've separated it into left hand and then right hand position. And I'm just going to show you really easily how I would look at this. So if I'm thinking about playing the guitar, I know that I'm going to finger pick. You know, I know that we're going to get to that. I know that it's really nice to play with your fingers. It feels really, classical players, jazz, it's really lovely to play with your thumb. It's really, really quite nice. We like to use picks though too, right? And the thing with using a pick, you know, if I'm wanting to, you know, strum something, you get so much more volume and and attack and percussion. And something we'll talk about with strumming is it's a very percussive thing. We'll talk more about that next week. But you need a pick to help you really reach those goals of strumming. But it's totally fine to use your fingers and your thumb as well. So a lot of guys hold picks different ways. A lot of guys and gals hold picks the ways that feel most comfortable. There are some famous guitar players that have held their picks very poorly. I've read quotes from guys that are legends in either contemporary or rock or jazz, and they're like, I wish someone would have told me how to hold my pick, but I'm cursed to hold it this one way, and I can't go back and break 30 years of holding a pick a certain way and break that technique. So I just want to show you guys what I would deem acceptable, and then you can kind of go from there with what you're comfortable with. You will find that some people like to use a few fingers to hold a pick. That is just because we feel like the pick's not totally secure, so we kind of grab it with more than we need. The problem with that is we actually eliminate fingers that we really will want to use later on. So, give you a couple of examples here. If I were to hold my pick, this is wrong. This is a wrong thing. Well, let's say I were to hold it with 3 fingers. So I have my thumb, I have my middle and my pointer finger, and I'm like, okay, I've got a solid grip of my pick. Here we go. Oh yeah, that feels good. But all you have remaining is your poor pinky and this ring finger. So what happens if you wanted to do something like, really, and actually use your pick with your finger? And actually be able to play. Now, if I try to do that and I eliminate this finger, that is going to be really hard to do. I'm like, okay, I've got this, and I've got one finger. Pinky's really useless on this hand. I mean, you can do some things with it. Okay, see, I don't know if I can train myself to do that. And you're just like, oh my goodness, like why am I using so many fingers to hold my pick? So there is a correct way to hold your pick. Now it is fine to change things up. There's some people that when they're playing really fast or really articulate, they'll really grab the pick rather snugly and hold it deep in their hand, and they'll play like this. And there's some people that will use another finger to just rest if they're doing something really aggressive and they don't want to drop their pick. But the standard way is between your thumb and your pointer finger, and specifically the flat side of your thumb and the side of your pointer finger. And an easy illustration is if you were to reach out to shake someone's hand and then curl in your fingers just a little bit like so. So reach out to shake someone's hand and then curl in your fingers. And then place your pick on the side of your pointer finger. And it can be anywhere. It can be right on the joint, or like right here on the joint, if you feel like that's comfortable, or right on the tip, or right where the fingernail is. But it's got to be on the flat side of your pointer finger. We'll talk about why you don't want it on this side here. You want it on the side of your pointer finger. Handshake, bringing it in, and then my thumb is going to go over top. So I'll do that again. Handshake, bringing in. This is your right hand. Handshake, bringing your hand in. Your pick goes on the side of your pointer finger. It's like a card trick. And then your thumb goes on top. And this is what makes it really natural. You can kind of feel like, where is that comfortable? Is it most comfortable with the pick kind of hanging out over my fingernail? Or where is it most comfortable? You kind of move it around a little bit. Try to avoid, now I've got more fingers helping me. Try to avoid that. Try to avoid your poor pointer finger all of a sudden going flat as well, because that will totally gibble the way that you play, and it'll put a put something in your wrist. So this is so important because check this out. If I do the handshake and I bring in the fingers and I put the pick on and then I go like this, I am right lined up with my guitar. I'm totally lined up because if you think about it, if you take your hand, just put it in front of your guitar, that is the natural state of your hand directly across from the strings. And so you just want the pick to be sitting there to help you guys facilitate that. Anything else? Like I said, if you took this correct technique and your pointer finger flattened, then all of a sudden you would be left with a weird angle in your wrist, which you don't want that. You want it to be real in between your thumb and your pointer finger. So that's the first thing. You really don't want tension on the guitar. You don't want to be like, you want to be, you know, really nice and relaxed. Really quickly, I know we're almost out of time here, but our left hand, we call this our left hand technique. The very, very simple rule of thumb is that we don't want our whole hand to come up and grab the neck like this. Now there are times where your thumb will hang over top. There are times where you'll play certain chords that are kind of bunched up chords like this rather than nice big chords. But you don't want to have the palm of your hand always grabbing the neck. Like, so it is good, it's important to have space in your hand. So an easy way of thinking of this is if you were to grab like a grapefruit or a baseball, like maybe a softball or something that's got a nice round sphere to it, and then take that, because what that does is it shows us the natural curvature in our finger, in our hands, right? This is our natural curve. And so if we hold that, and then we just put it behind our neck, like that's it. That's all we gotta worry about. You know, our thumb hangs out anywhere back here. You know, find a spot that's comfortable. The finger's got this natural curve to it. Now, when you play chords, things are going to stack. You're not always going to have this beautiful curve in your hand. Chords are going to cause it to change. You know, although if you're playing something like something more string based, you'll see the curve in your hand. But I mean, chords still have this nice using your fingertip and having this curve. So yeah, so you really want to have your thumb behind your neck. You want to have stability, but you don't want to be pushing too hard. Really, the hand that does all the work is this hand because you're fretting the strings. And on your left hand, we refer to your pointer finger as 1, your middle finger is 2, ring is 3, and pinky is 4. And so we don't really include our thumb. We'll call it T if we ever do use it. And so, yeah, so we have each finger getting a fret. And you guys can see that on the left-hand position. They actually drew numbers on the fingers and said, hey, every finger gets a fret. So that makes sense, I hope. Yeah? Cool. Well, I know we're 2:36. I know we started late, but I don't want to go that late. Some of you have rides here. I had another portion to our class that will probably happen next week, and that was to do with strumming, and it was to do with learning strumming patterns, and there's a whole bunch in this that we can get into, like how do we know whether to, you know, or and there's so much that we can do with our strumming patterns. And that was the other part for today's class. I wanted to work through some very elementary strumming patterns, and there was a strumming exercise I was going to get us to do, but we are out of time. Hey, Gord, that time's right, hey? Yeah, so yeah, we are out of time. There was one worship song that I was going to show you guys today with some strumming patterns. That will be next week when we have the larger class. So from what we talked about, you can, yeah, just remember the parts of the guitar. You can remember the left hand and the right hand technique. If you already play a little bit, see if you can, no tension, no stress. See if you can really work on how you're holding the guitar and how you're holding your pick. I would finish those 3 little exercises if you didn't get to finish them. As a little, for those of you that already play, maybe look and see what notes are in the chords you're playing. So if you're playing like a C chord, like we were playing earlier, now that you know the notes on your fingerboard, or at least you can find them, like, wait a minute, so this is a C. That's the root of the tree. That's the foundation, okay? Well, that's an E. I don't know, that's not a C, but it's an E. Okay, well, whatever. That's an open G string, okay? There's that middle C when we were talking about timbre. That's that middle C. And there's that open, and we got another E. So we got a C, and then an E, and then a G, and then another C, and then another E. And so you can kind of write down, that's the notes that make a C chord. And you can look at your fingerboard diagram and almost circle that too. And that's important. We might not really get into this over the 4 Saturdays, but I have a couple notes prepped on building chords, and that might be really helpful too. So anyway, thank you so much. We will wrap up, and I will see you guys next week. Cool. Thank you. Take care.